Hey guys, my name is Stacey Ann Louie. I'm a lactation consultant. I'm a birth geek. I love all things birth, postpartum, supporting parents. I do that. I show up for families in the way of lactation, postpartum journey, and birth journey itself. And I'm sitting here with Tommy Wilson. We had an incredible conversation about diet and breastfeeding, but in that she had said a few things that I'm like, girl, we just need to expand on this. I want to talk about how to set up yourself to support while breastfeeding, because that's an interesting conversation. That's an important conversation. I don't have anything pre-planned for this. We're just going to talk about it. So, Faith, for those who don't know you, who didn't listen to the first half, introduce yourself and let's break it down.
I love it. I love it. So again, thank you so much again, Stacey Ann. So I am Faith Tommy Wilson. I am a pregnancy and postpartum, also known as perinatal mental health therapist. I'm also a birth support coach as well as Black maternal health advocate. And so I too, like Stacey Ann, am passionate about all things health and wellness and motherhood, pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, all the things in womanhood and motherhood. And so really excited about today's conversation because as a birth support coach, this is a huge part of what I do in coaching is actually helping to create your village or the extension of your village, especially connected to breastfeeding. So let's do this. Let's do this.
Okay, so I'm going to curve this by saying I want to speak specifically to the Black and the brown woman.
Yes.
Okay, this is a conversation I want to have, and it's funny that I didn't even start thinking that, but it just pressed up on me that we should have something speaking directly to our sisters.
Yeah.
Um, we struggle a lot when it comes on to the area of finding support and just setting up ourselves. Here
Yeah.
I am, pregnant, just putting myself in somebody's body. I'm pregnant. I have this baby, whether I am doing it by myself or whether I'm doing it with a partner, their support has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So when would you say is a time that I would say I should start setting up support for myself? And what should that support look like? But you can break it down for yourself. But when should I start seeking the support I need? To
So
like, sorry, let me break it down to breastfeed because we're talking about breastfeeding. When should I start setting up that support?
yes. So my philosophy when it comes to preparing for anything in life is the earlier the better. So in the ideal situation, the moment you decided that you want to get pregnant, the moment that you decided that you wanted to be a mother, or maybe for some, the moment you found out that you were going to be a mother, right? Because we all have such beautiful, dynamic, and different stories.
Yeah.
And so as soon as possible, just to share, weave a little bit of my story. And so
Yeah.
my sweet baby boy was a surprise baby. We were obviously
Yeah.
doing things that, make babies, but we
Yeah.
wanted to wait a little bit, right?
Right.
But that ain't what happened.
Yeah.
And so the moment I
Yeah.
found out, and really in real transparency, the moment that I accepted that I
Yeah.
was like,
Because you have to accept the journey, right? You have to accept it. Here we go. Because
yes,
motherhood is about accepting the torch. And
yes,
that's how I feel it is, accepting
yes.
the torch.
I
Yeah.
love that, accepting the,
Yeah.
oh, that's another
Yeah.
conversation. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. And so once I accepted the torch, I immediately, because of just my makeup, and I was not a birth support coach at the time. I
Yeah.
was not a perinatal mental health therapist at the time. I was a mental health therapist, but all my specialties now, my son birthed this
That.
whole entire just newness in me as well.
Yeah.
And so the moment I accepted it, I just went into preparation mode. It's like, wait a minute, I need support. And that was literally my thought process. I was like, I need support. And so
Mhm.
I started doing the research. I reached out to my mother, and that's actually how I met my lactation. Miss Kiana and my mother used to work together as nurses.
Oh.
Yes. And
Ah.
so my mother knew that I wanted to be like that all natural, holistic, have the baby in the kitchen. If I not really, I'm just being dramatic, y'all. But
Oh no, no, trust me, I joke about that. Barefoot with the baby on my back.
listen, and my mom knew that. So she was like, you need to, my friend, Miss Kiana, that's who you need to reach out to. And I was like, okay. And so, and I, at that time, I might've been 2 months pregnant, you all
Yeah.
might have been.
Yeah.
And so I would say the moment, if you know
Hmm.
you want to have a family, let's not wait, because what happens is that the pressure, the closer it gets to the baby arriving, it can
Mm.
create pressure and stress on the journey and the formation of proper support.
Okay.
Sometimes we make choices because we are pressed for time and not
Mhm.
because we put people through a process and we actually found out if they were a good fit for us. That makes sense?
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm about to have this baby in 2 months, whoever.
Yeah.
Let me find versus, we're planning a family.
Yeah.
Two very different mindsets.
It is.
And so yeah, that's my long-winded answer to your
No,
question.
no, it's not. I think we need to have those because, as you said, it's a process. I
Yes.
didn't just get up and I was like, I'm going to select. Like you walked through and you said, I'm now pregnant. I've accepted the torch. Let me talk to my next closest friend who knows my rock solid, my mama who's been through this before. And she's like, I have someone for you. And I'm
Mhm.
sure when she said, Candy, you're probably like, how old is this woman? But
Listen, I honestly, I wasn't even thinking that. I was excited that she knew somebody
yeah,
because this was my preliminary search, and this is what birthed my birth support coach part of what
yeah,
I do, because I was just like, where do women go to find this out? Like,
yeah.
who helps women figure this thing out? Who
Mhm.
helps them put their team or the extension of their village together? Like, who does that? And I
Mhm.
realized, like nobody is out here, especially in the Black and Brown community. It's not. And so
Yeah.
my mother, like, you're right. I was just like, listen, she did this 3 times.
He must know something.
she she gotta know something. That's where I'm gonna start. And then maybe if my mom didn't know, then it's Google. Then it's
Yeah.
you calling around, like you're doing all those things. And so,
Yeah.
but you're so right. Like, and we do start with who is around us, which is an important thing too when it comes to support. Is one of the things I talk about is utilizing the resources around you. Oftentimes we don't even know the resources that we have around
Mhm.
us. We
Yeah.
just default to the OB, and I have nothing against
Nothing.
OB at all, but we default to the particular way that has been presented to us, and we
Yeah.
don't know that we have so many options,
We
like
don't. We
so
don't.
many options.
So many. And the thing about it also is also the type of OB you have. So let's face it, we're speaking about Black women, brown women. Oftentimes we see specialists, they don't look like us.
Mm-mm,
So the information they're giving you is not in particular to the needs that you have
mm-mm.
itself. So as a Black woman, a woman of color, a BIPOC woman, your support, the way you go about it will look different
Mhm.
because historically our support is different
Yeah.
itself. A lot of us come from a space where we don't breastfeed it, we don't see it. It's not normalized. So
Mhm.
you say you want to breastfeed and people are like, really? How are you going to do that? How are you going to find space for it? You're going to feed that baby from your tit? Why don't you go ahead and give the baby formula? So right then you have your immediate crowd isn't there to support you.
Yes.
So in areas where women don't have that supportive base that's there, how would you say building your camp? How would you go about doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Mm.
phenomenal question. So again, it's one of those questions that depending on the mother like that I'm
Yeah,
working with, I would start asking some questions to find out what she does have access to or what she does know. Because
yeah,
I never ever want to operate from a framework of just assuming that everybody's just
yeah,
out here doesn't know. So first of all, let's find out what you do know, what you do have, right? But let's say we're starting with a mother that doesn't have anything. Like my insurance just gave me this hospital. I just got this OB. I don't know anything or anyone. The number one thing that I recommend is finding CBE, which stands for Childbirth Education Course, that is not, and again, I don't have anything against hospitals, but there's a reason I'm saying this, that is not given by the hospital.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. Girl.
Childbirth
And
education.
I didn't even prompt this. It's just like, yeah.
Childbirth education course. And I believe everybody, like if
Mhm.
you kind of like I believe like parenting courses should be like a default thing.
Universal standard.
Yes. But
Universal standard.
finding first step is okay, let's find CBE course not not funded by the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I'm trying to also find, I do try, especially if people, depending on their financial situation, okay, let's see if insurance can cover it. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can find some good free ones. Let's see if we can find some that you get a good discount because of
Yeah.
your insurance, right? Just depending on people's situations. But
Yeah.
that is my starting point
Yeah.
because I have found that the CBE courses that
Hmm.
are not funded by the hospitals, they tend to be much more thorough,
Hmm.
including that foundation-based knowledge, not just on childbirth, but on breastfeeding. So,
Yeah.
and that is why that would be kind of like my baseline for
Yeah.
any, even with the most experienced mamas. I still ask, have you ever taken a CBE course
Yeah.
by someone that is an actual doula or an IB hours? Is it IBCLC? Is that the right
Yes,
thing?
IBCLC. Yeah.
Yes, by an IBCLC or by a pelvic floor therapist, but like certain people that really specialize in the area of birth, but it's not connected to the system of the hospital. And the
Yeah.
reason why that's important is that unfortunately, most
Yeah.
of the CBE classes that are taught through the hospital come also with a certain framework and agenda that
Mm.
already almost teaches you as a woman that you're not capable, already comes from the framework that your body's going to fail you, already
Hmm.
comes from this. And that's not, nobody needs that as their
No,
introduction or their
no,
preparation for.
because yeah, it says it subscribes you to a life of struggle. And I always say I'm not about that struggle life. Struggle breastfeeding, struggle parenting. It teaches you that you are not enough. Here
Yeah,
I am pregnant, and you now give me a basket of insecurity, a basket of doubt. And that's how my journey into breastfeeding, my journey into birth was, because I'm confidently walking and you're telling me, oh no, like, so, you're most likely going to end up with, what if you have a C-section or breastfeeding? Like, most women have said you should consider formula feeding. I was like, what is going on? Like, it was really that way for me. So if I'm being gifted that, every other woman is gifting that.
yeah,
So the importance of pulling yourself out of the system, even though we are part of the system,
yeah.
because let's face it, we don't breastfeed in the system. It's in your home.
Come
It's
on.
with your partner. It's with so how are we going to, set up the gate for that?
Yeah.
Um, Now here we are, we're about to like breastfeed on a practical basis. Like, how do
Mhm.
you really set yourself up for the support to breastfeed
Yeah.
itself?
So, so going back, so like continuing from the conversation, so these CBE classes that I've
Mhm.
personally taken,
Yeah.
as well as even researching others, what I love is that part of the course, the breastfeeding portion,
Mhm.
should, most of them do, preps you on that. So how do you prepare your
Mhm.
body and yourself for the journey of breastfeeding? And so much like I teach how pregnancy and labor and birth starts in the mind, so
Yeah.
does breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And so that first step is you believing that you can do it. And I know
Oh,
it
wow.
sounds like that's very like almost like cliche and cheerleadery, but it is amazing to me how many women, even those who want to breastfeed, but when they begin to talk, you hear in their speech that they don't even
The
believe they
depth.
can do it.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
already a speech of doubt, or, I hope I
Mhm.
can make it to 3 months. I hope we can. And I always ask, well, do you only want to make it to 3 months? They're like, no. I said, so why are we already just doubting and saying we're
Yes.
barely going to make it, but you desire a year, or you
Hmm.
desire until they self-wean, you
Yeah.
desire to, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so that first thing is that mindset shift of believing that like, I'm going to have to learn. This is not
Mhm.
something that's just going to come naturally. I'm not about
Yeah.
to just know how to do it as soon as I
Yeah.
come, but I can do this. My body is
Mhm.
capable. My body is not going to fail me. My baby, even though as small as he or she is a brilliant being and is going to be
Yeah.
able to learn. And the second thing, I'm going to get me a lactation consultant to help me. Unless I am biased. I have no shame in my game of saying that I'm biased in my opinions with certain things. I
Yeah.
am really biased towards having an LC because even though I was a woman that did her research, even
Mm.
though I was gonna breastfeed no matter what formula, I wasn't buying no formula. I
That's up.
care. Even though I believed I could do all the things right, I still needed support.
Mhm.
There are things that there were just things, and it's like it literally changed the game for me. Without my LC, I probably would have quit around 3 months,
Yeah.
hands down.
And this,
Hands,
that's the thing. It's so important that you said that because listen, you can birth by yourself. You can breastfeed by yourself.
mhm,
You can do all of those things. I'm not going to sit here and say, you need me, you need a doula, you need a doctor. If you are by yourself and this baby is coming, it will come out. If you are by yourself and the baby, the first woman, nobody was there to say, you just figure it, you do it. However, we are communal people. We are communal people and we learn in community. We learn how to do better in community. We are supported that way. The way how we venture into this really lays the foundation for us. So do
mhm.
you want to struggle and bull yourself and fall down on rocks, or do you want to do this with grace?
Come on.
And that's what it's about. Do you want to do this in a community of people that, for us as Black women, we don't tend to have that history. And
Mhm,
I'm speaking more to the American Black woman, probably.
mhm,
We don't have that strong history leading back to say, I see my grandmother's grandmother doing it.
mhm.
We don't. So as this generation and my generation and the generation after us, we're literally forming a new thing. I
Yeah.
see a lot more women come into breastfeeding and saying that I want to do this. How can I do this? So for yourself, um, name your camp. Tell us like people that you think would be good to have in your camp. Let me know.
Yes, 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 yes. And so I want to touch on something you just said though, because
Yeah.
it's powerful. It's one of my philosophies. And so what I often say is that it's commonly said that it takes a village to raise a child. It
Yeah.
doesn't just take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to thrive at life.
Mm,
And so that is like one of my mantras,
yeah.
because just like you said, we are communal, we are interdependent. We were
Yeah.
never designed to be these independent. I can do it. I don't need anybody. I'll struggle through it. I'll figure it out on my own. Child,
Yes.
please. Like you, Stacey,
Nobody
like
wants that.
you can have the struggle life. I don't want it. And you're not a better woman, mother, wife, person just because you struggled, you
Yeah.
gritted and you grinded and you suffered and
Yeah.
you attained that particular thing. It doesn't qualify the greatness or the
Yeah.
whether or not something is good or not.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to hone in on that, because that is part of just why I do the birth support coaching and really help women build an extension of their village or their
Yeah.
team, because we need it. We need it. And like
Yeah.
Stacey Ann said, the present generations that are here now, we're bringing back that village in a way.
Yeah.
We are literally bringing it back, but it's new because it's not like how our
It
parents,
used to be.
our great, right? So it's this very new, like hodgepodge of a thing, but I think it's beautiful. I think it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And so, so when it comes down to the formation of the team, um, whether you go the route of an OB or a midwife or a certified nurse midwife, because all three of those are not the same, what's
Mhm.
important, I believe it's very important that whichever of those three you go with, they need to be someone that is pro breastfeeding. If
Mm.
you have, because believe it or not, there are midwives, there are certified nurse midwives and OBs also. It's not just the hospital system, because
System.
you
Yeah.
can find people outside of the structure of the system, but they still embody the system.
Exactly.
They're still part of it. They still
Yep.
are. Right? So I believe it is imperative that your OB, your midwife, or your certified nurse midwife is pro breastfeeding. I think it's
Mhm.
important too that they acknowledge that they're not the expert in breastfeeding, right?
Mm.
Because you have OBs, midwives, and certified nurse midwives that are out there giving horrible. The stuff I've heard, I was like, oh, Jesus, fix it. I was like, what?
So you must understand how my ears bleed and my heart just like,
I was like, oh no, this is not okay.
this is not okay.
So whichever of those three that you go with, if you do, pro
Yes.
breastfeeding, also recognize that they may not be the expert. Now, there are some midwives or certified birth
Oh, that are
they are amazing, right? And
amazing.
that's a gem. You got a whole
Mhm.
entire gem in that, okay? Then biased in my opinion, I don't care who you are. I don't care if your husband or your significant other or whomever is the creme de la creme, you need a doula, sis, okay? You
You
need
need
a
a
doula.
doula. Just-
There is not enough, but it's coming and it's changing. There's not enough education and understanding of what a doula really is.
Mhm.
And I think that if the more our community understands the value of a doula, more and more of us will be. I refuse. My husband already know. We went through a whole journey. He knows. All right, so we're gonna always have a doula. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
a
People
doula,
ask if I had a doula for my last baby, but you've had, yes, ma'am.
yes,
I sure did.
a
Yes.
doula is an invaluable resource, an invaluable part of your village and your team, because they're more than just a cheerleader or more than just a coach. There's different types of doulas, right? That's a whole nother conversation that we could have. There are different types of doulas. Doulas come with different areas of expertise and support, and being able to, if your situation is that you are a single mother or you're single at the time of bringing forth your baby, helping you connect with yourself in order to have that beautiful process. Or if there is a dyad involved, right? If there is a partnership, a couple, in that, bringing the two of you together, teaching both, like it's just, you cannot.
Oh, it's a
And then
beautiful dance.
then
It's a
there's,
beautiful dance.
listen, there are postpartum doulas. I mean, listen, like again, second thing, you need a doula. I don't care. That's my biased opinion. And I say that in love and respectfully. And then I said it before, but LC, I really, really believe a lactation consultant. Even like I said, like myself, I was the educated, I knew what I wanted, I did all the things, and I still hit bumps in my journey that if not for my LC, I would have quit. And it wouldn't have been because my body was failing me. It wouldn't have been because I didn't know, like I could not actually do it. It wouldn't have been any of those things. It was just, there was a support that only she could provide because that was her area of expertise. And there were things that she could see and know, and I mean in seconds, be like, okay, do this, move the baby this way, or do that. Okay, don't do that. And anytime I did whatever she told me to do, y'all, it was like, I was like, what is this?
What is this sorcery you speak of?
I kid you not. I'm not even exaggerating. And it was in that for me, I said, oh, every woman needs an LC that wants to breastfeed. And if you want to have a successful, how you define successful breastfeeding journey, it's invaluable. Like you just, and then there are other people that I'm gonna just give y'all those three, but there are other people. I think everybody needs to see a pelvic floor therapist. If you have a womb, if you have a pelvic floor, which is men and women, actually, if you got
If that little sling held up your baby, you need it. Just and that's exactly I speak to people. And it does interrupt. And I was like, you're carrying the baby, and all of a sudden it relaxes. You really do need that because peeing on yourself isn't normal.
Nope.
Frequency every 2 seconds isn't normal. And we go through this thing with our bodies and we need to. These are some of the stresses that stress our bodies. And we're like, we can't be bothered. This whole breastfeeding thing is just too much for me. I can't deal with it. I can't. That's it. That's it. So breastfeeding within itself is one of the million decisions that we make as being a parent. But another one is taking care of our body so we can be there. Because it is not fun when you're leaking and you're leaking. It's just two different things.
Or even, I'm so glad you said it, Stacey Ann. Oh my goodness. Because someone could be like, what does a pelvic floor therapist have to do with breastfeeding? One, the fact that we are not compartmentalized beings, okay? My mental health affects my physical, affects my spiritual, affects my emotional, affects my relational. Every single part of our being affects every single part of our being. And so like Stacey Ann said, if we're struggling with incontinence, painful sex, We have a first, second, or third degree tear.
Yeah.
We have, I mean, there's so many things that happen to that area, whether you have a cesarean or a vaginal, so many things happen down there. And when that's going on, and I'm trying to feed this baby, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm all right, because I'm having these emotional moments and I don't know what's going on with me, and I'm trying to make sure I'm eating. And you see how now,
Oh,
and what
it's
we
so much.
do, is we will try to get rid of what we think is the easiest thing to get rid of. And the reason why in the Black and brown community, this is very
Yeah.
specific to us in the States,
Yeah.
breastfeeding is one of the things to get chopped off the block the quickest, is because you got voices already telling you, you need to get that baby on a bottle. You're already challenged in it. You don't have support. Your body is going through things, and it's just like, I can't get rid of my body. I can't do it's like, so what do I change?
What do I do? What do I change?
I'm gonna stop
Exactly.
breastfeeding.
Yeah. And it's also something that we carry as an injury, because I meet women all the time that will, because I wear my breastfeeding shirts, I do different stuff, and I walk around. I don't even think about it half the time because they're shirts that I own. My husband actually wears one that he loves. And I like, who's that? I'm like, that's my husband. And we get nice conversation. He's like, oh yeah, whenever I wear this shirt, I got to remember. But these things, and women will stop and say, hey, this is my story and I wish I did this, or I could have done this different. We carry these stories into elderly ages. We
Yes.
do. So these are stories that we carry. So it's important to take care of the stuff. And not only that, remember this, as you're standing here, we don't think about this. We don't. But I am so much cognizant of this because I look at how the support I got from my mother-in-law, the support I got from my mother, the support I got from my aunts and other women and support groups. If they haven't healed themselves or come to a place where they can support you in the way that you need support, they will gift you their pain.
Yep.
Or they can't even support you in the way they can, that you want to be supported. So it's so important for us to deal with certain things before we get to that point, because the story and the life we're living now, we will give that to our daughters, to our sons, to our daughter-in-laws, to an entire generation. So it's important to take care of ourselves. That
Yes.
in that is it's a healing journey. It's a history that we carry that we don't even know that we're backpacking on our backs.
Yeah.
That this difficulty that we're coming into is not just something that is because of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a community-based thing. And
Yeah.
it's so important to reach out for help because we can't do this alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't.
And the support, I think that I would argue and say that intrinsically,
Hmm.
most, if not all, Black and brown women know that we need support,
Hmm.
especially when you hit certain parts of your journey and the question comes up like, who can I, like, I need help. Who do I ask or who do I go to, right? So there's this part of us inside of us that knows that we need
Hmm.
that community, we need that support, that we need that interdependence. But I think sometimes depending on, like you said, it could be family history, it could be pressures of society, it could be a myriad of things that we don't ask for the
Hmm.
help, or we just hope that somebody will see us and notice and acknowledge,
But you're
and
struggling.
right, and then but that
Yeah.
causes extra frustration and extra pain and different things, and what do? We internalize it, and then
Mm.
we pass that on to the beautiful child that we had. We pass that on, if you're in a relationship, to your husband or your significant other, or however that works. Like we begin, it's so layered, like it's so layered. And so why am I making this point? That we, like, the support is almost it's a non-negotiable.
Oh, it is.
And
I
that,
love that you said that. Non-negotiable.
yeah, and that is why I work so hard. That is why I reach out, I extend myself, and I'm like, hey, who do you have a team? Do you have, who's on your, what do you, have you taken classes? Are you like, I'm that person, because
Listen.
I know what it did from my experience, and then being
Mhm.
part of the amazing community like Thrive, and
Mhm.
other, being in other spaces, not as involved as I've been with Thrive, but just being able to observe other spaces for us and
Yeah.
seeing the difference of the Black and brown mama that supported, and the Black and brown mama that is not supported. And both of them wanting the same thing, wanting to be able to thrive, wanting to be able to have that longer, healthier breastfeeding journey, wanting to love herself, right?
Yeah,
That support is a game changer.
it
It,
is.
it changes everything.
And we talked, we keep on dropping thrive, 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 thrive. So, you know, people are like, what are they talking about? Thrive Lactation Collective, of course, is a collective of 4 different LCs in our community, ranging with the Atlanta metro area. So as far as you can push your hand, if you live in the general area, from Gwinnett, from Gainesville to Jonesboro to wherever to Athens. I'm trying to think of it. Dallas,
Dallas,
listen, Dallas.
Georgia,
We
no, Dallas, Georgia.
Georgia, Georgia, by the way, please. We can be found virtually, but in terms of if you want to see and sit down with someone, but we, you know, coming together to say, hey, we see this and we know that this is a cornerstone of what we need as women, as Black women, as just women in general, but our community really, really need this.
Yeah.
So Thrive Lactation Collective, together, myself and Kiana are the ones that kind of cornerstone that part of the support group. And we support any woman that wants to get support. But we have an amazing group. The majority of our group members are Black and brown women, and we provide just consistent touches throughout your breastfeeding journey. We're not only talking about breastfeeding, people. If you think we're in this group talking about breastfeeding, this is not the group for you. We talk about everything, because what? Breastfeeding is just one aspect of parenting. And if we're not supporting everything that is the whole of the woman, you will fall by the wayside. So we talk about things like sex, then breastfeeding. You know, Faith alluded to like, hey, if you don't support my pill, if I'm having painful sex, if when I am breastfeeding and oh my God, like I leak, like what is this? We brought it up and the ladies were like, oh my God, this happens. Yes, it's a thing. How do we deal with that?
Yeah.
We have conversations like that that is so important and imperative to us. And we, you know, we bring in speakers and so to help us doing it. And we have, what I love too about this group is that we have a wealth of like expertise in our group. And nobody brings no egos. There are no egos. Sometimes we have to ask, like, what? Oh, yeah. But there are no egos here. And I love that because whether you are breastfeeding in whole and in part, meaning that partial, we have women in the group that don't even provide an ounce of breast milk, but that support they get is invaluable. And that's what I love about you. And you're part of that group. And I love it, love it, love it. I'm not going to breastfeed forever, but I'm going to be here until you guys are like, Stacey, you need to move on.
Listen, what I'm hoping is y'all just forget about me and then I'm pregnant again. I need more help. But no, honestly, it is a space that, I mean, there are mothers, I guess, like, I definitely don't consider myself a veteran mother, let me be clear, but mothers like myself that maybe our child has self-weaned, or we have like toddlers that are still, younger toddlers that are still, you know, breastfeeding. And so it's different, right? That beginning of your journey is different, but we don't want to leave.
Because there's so much about it, right? There's so much about it. That's what I love. When we started, we were just like, let's just do like the first 6 months. They were like, hold on, this lasts for longer. And to this testament, you can tell me if anybody is dropped off that we didn't know, but everybody accomplished their goal and then some.
Yeah.
And then some. And I love that. For me, I was telling people that sometimes I forgot that I was also nursing in the midst of things. And there are moments that I came through the door that I didn't feel like putting this baby on my breast one more time, that I didn't feel like doing this. And I had different challenges that somebody brought up in the group, like how they're dealing with it, how it's helped them. And I'm like, oh, I can use that in my life. So as we share in the group, we bless each other with information. And I love the wealth of information that you also bring to the group. And I appreciate that. So I just love this conversation about support and how to set yourself up to win. Because if we're not, again, supporting the base of who you are, all of the things that are important to you. So there's a priority list, right? As a parent, I come and said, this is how I want to birth.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do to support my child in their nutrition. This is the daycare that I want my child to go. These are the books I want to read them. This
Yeah.
is the household I want to read. These are the food I want to use baby led weaning. People
Mhm.
don't even realize that if you want a baby led wean, you got to support that child the way their tongue moves. It all starts from the initial part of it. So
Yes.
these are the things that I want to do. So because you want to do these things, let us find that community. And I will say, and you can expand on that too, because we're going on. If you don't have that built-in support where your mom, sister, brother, all that stuff can be your community, and let's face it, I have that, but they're not everybody's going to be at that part in your journey. Not you need women who are doing the same thing you're doing.
Mhm.
Find the group.
Yes.
Find the group, create that community for
Yes.
yourself. And you can speak to it, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you guys have been great for me.
No, yes, yes. No, I agree. I agree. There are definitely, I would say that support groups for Black and brown mamas are like hidden gems right now. There are actually
Mhm.
a lot more out there than people know about,
A lot.
but they're not as, I don't even want to say mainstream. They're just not as known yet, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I do is even for myself, I'm learning, I meet different types of birth workers almost every day. I
Yeah.
learn different things almost every week for sure, at least every week for sure. And that's part of because I'm just always researching because I want to be able to be that resource to like direct moms because
Yeah.
everyone doesn't live in Atlanta. Like we're connected, like social media and the internet makes things national and international. And
Exactly.
so if you do not have, I completely agree with Stacey Ann, if you don't have that community, one, if you're kind of like myself and you're like an extroverted self-starter, you better start that group or start reaching out, start it, find people that are like-minded, like, hey, like, do y'all have something? Do you want to start something together? Right. But everyone's not made up like that. And I completely honor that and I get it. And so then what's beautiful now is between Google, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, also, these are all search engines.
Mhm.
So you can literally go to the search portion of any one of these platforms and you could
Mhm.
type in like birth support near me or lactation specialist near me or Black mom meetup near me. Like, I mean, whatever you're looking for. And you may have to play around with the words a little bit. But
Yeah.
what I love about the time we're living in now is that if you don't have it, you can
Mhm.
find it. And if you
Yeah.
can't find it, if you're up for it, there are resources that you can make it. And because support is so needed in our community, it's not going to be hard for you to find people that want to
No,
come.
it's not. It's
We
not.
we in the Black and brown community, we are in a place right now, even though stuff is growing, we are all almost like in this place where we're hungry for it. I'm talking to women daily that are like, I just wish I had a group of moms. I just
Yeah.
wish I had a group of moms. I mean, literally. And so there is this hunger because we need
Mhm.
the support. And
Mhm.
so find it, create it, find someone like me. I'm always willing to help people. You know, I'm
Yeah.
really good at finding those resources and things and leading you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, but I agree. Oh man, I agree, Stacey Ann, wholeheartedly.
Yes, the stuff. That's it. This has been such a great conversation. We could talk forever about this, but you want to know what? We're going to stop here because we still have to mom and eat and all the other type of stuff that we have to do with our time. So thank you so much, Faith, for your time. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you for sharing this space with us. Thank you for imparting, like giving us all this information. Have yourself a great afternoon. And with that, I'm going to say, we're going to sign off. See you guys.